the leadership of the National Executive Committee present here. I'm not going to mention their names. They've already been acknowledged. And also the leadership of the province, led by Comrade Mziku Malo, and also our outgoing RTT members. We've been together for 3.5 years, and they can applaud themselves for the great work that they've done. Comrades, currently we are going to receive the political overview from the current chairperson or convener of the ANC in this region. But before that, as you move towards the closed session, I'm going to ensure that you are properly seated. We know that in our midst, we have the voting delegates. Dumela ma voting delegates. You are our honorable voting delegates. We have also Renale by Mbabo Shokwa, our guest. So we don't want to mix voting delegates with the guest. Comrades, but we are going to do that exercise after the political input or report. Then we can rearrange ourselves so that we can know who is eligible to propose the motions and who is not eligible to do so. Comrades, from my side, can we get the revolutionary song?
Amanda! Aluta! Yesterday I warned that we must not sing songs that divide the movement. We are on the eve of electing the leadership, but that must not be our obsession. We must not be preoccupied by election. There's work that we must do, and actually our work is cut out. We know what we must do and how to achieve it. And I'm going to forever, and this will be transversal in my engagement with you. The only thing that is going to make us not to win the elections is our behavior. Nothing more, nothing less. So I don't want to be part of the contributory factors for us to fail to win the elections. I'm insulating myself from being entangled in the factions, that beyond this conference, we must all of us be on the ground, work for the movement. We have seen many comrades who failed to heal because of the aftermath of conference. I was part of those who witnessed the horrible conference of 2007 in Polokwane. And when I speak about it, I don't mince my weight, because I was at the forefront of a faction. But today you are paying the price consistently, continuously, and we are unable to deal with that consequences. We must never, comrades, be entangled in that kind of faction. The mobilization campaign is a phase. A conference is an event. And beyond the conference, ANC must live and must lead. We are leading in Tshwane as we speak because of the work that we have done. We mobilized, we were looked at as if we don't know what we are doing. I remember one comrade saying, the march won't make any significant changes. I told them that you don't understand the aerial battle. You are low in terms of your understanding, and then you are struggling with poverty in terms of politics. Today, the people of Tshwane respect what we are doing and appreciate the work of the African National Congress. You can check the mood, you can check the responses. They are undermining the DA. Actually, they are ridiculing them because we are on the ground and we are not talking about people, we are talking about the plight of our people. So let me share with you the political overview of the past 3 years when we were in office. And I want to appreciate on behalf of the entire RTT for you to bestowing confidence in us. When we started, we were in opposition bunches. We looked like jokes when we said we'll take power. And even our comrades didn't believe. Today they can believe. But they don't believe that we can take power and run the city alone. I think Petros, wait for that moment, is coming. As we convene here at Velmo, Erasmia, I want to say this guardedly and apologize on behalf of military, Mkondo is a law war veterans league. We didn't acknowledge them yesterday and even today. And they are angry with us. And I think we need to apologize, comrades, because that thing is wrong, extremely wrong. They are a critical component of the organization. These are the comrades who were in the cold face of our struggle. Some of them didn't enjoy their youth days. They were there for us. They fought for us. And I think I would like you, comrades, to stand up and give them a round of applause because we missed the point to acknowledge them. When we request to stand, it's not like you are buying me anything. We stand to appreciate a critical component of the organization. I don't know, we are lost or what? Kerama sole, la iliti sole. Lelita maile mo higher size lo fella kai. Or renar kono ema mugajiko. The other day we were not going to enter Velmo. Not Velmo actually. Lodium. You'll be searched like hell. Those who understand what I'm saying, they'll appreciate. When you were leaving Atteridgeville, just leaving Atteridgeville, it was a nightmare. Today, let's appreciate them. Yesterday, I said I'm going to share with you two critical points that I've taken from the National General Council. And I want us to appreciate the work of the African National Congress, National Executive Committee. The NGC was a resounding victory. And we want to appreciate that. The NG spoke at length about why succession matters. The management of succession is not a matter of internal housekeeping. It is not merely about who leads the ANC. It's about whether the ANC, as a governing party, is capable of leading the nation with clarity and stability. Each time succession becomes a battlefield without rules, the state itself suffers. Program stalls, appointments are distorted, governance is weakened, and the people whose hopes we carry lose faith, not just in ANC, but in democratic politics altogether. In a time of profound national difficulty, when our people are weighed down by poverty, unemployment, and disillusionment, the ANC has a duty to remove every source of uncertainty that lies within its own control. Chief among this is how it chooses its leaders. This is not an abstract question. Other liberation movements have long recognized the centrality of succession in ensuring stability, and I'm going to cite them. Chama Chama Mapinduzi in Tanzania, for example, has for decades institutionalized a system of consensus that ensures the transition of presidents occurs without destabilizing the party or the states. SWAPO in Namibia, too, has avoided paralyzing succession battles by managing transition with discipline, ensuring that unity of movement takes precedence over individual ambitions. Frelimo in Mozambique, through conscious planning, have maintained an orderly process of leadership renewal while holding on its standing a governing party. These examples are not without their imperfections, but they stand in stark contrast to ANC unresolved succession question. It is not enough to remind ourselves of these values. What is needed is a principled, transparent, and binding process for leadership succession. Renewal without succession, certainly, documents insist rightly that renewal is a matter of survival. They call for ethical leadership, organizational discipline, and ideological clarity. But renewal without a clear plan of succession is a hollow promise. We cannot continue to leave leadership transition to unregulated contestation, knowing full well that this has been the seedbed of divisions and paralysis. Comrade Kumbuzo stated this, that it's important that when we elect leadership, we know what we want to achieve. You cannot buy a spanner size 32 and think you'll fix a caricana. Size 32 understands that it's used to do certain work. The night of 70 years celebration of the Freedom Charter, this is the second point that I've taken from the National General Council. The mood was sensational, and the leadership demonstrated that the Freedom Charter still and forever will be relevant. They resolved to celebrate the Freedom Charter at the NGC on the 9th of December. The Freedom Charter declared one critical component: the people shall govern. That notable aspiration is betrayed when the governing party stumbles in its own conferences, uncertain of who shall govern it. The ANC should, by now, have developed a mechanism to ensure that when it enters conferences, it does not become a battlefield of competing factions, but as a forum to renew the covenant between the movement and the people. The longer we postpone this question, the deeper the damage. Every cycle of unregulated succession weakens the ANC. It erodes trust and diminishes the organization's ability to govern. Renewal will remain a slogan unless succession is brought under the principle of discipline. President Ramaphosa was conferred with an honorary doctorate in Malaysia. This was recognizing his leadership, pursuit of justice, and South Africa's struggle for freedom, similar to Nelson Mandela, honored decades before. Though he also received one from the University of Venda in 2016 for his role drafting the Constitution. I want to cite the significance of his, this honorary degree. The university conducted a research, tracked and traced his leadership, his dedication to global development and advancing principle of justice and human dignity, and celebrating the successes of South Africa. He is labeled as the second South African after Nelson Mandela in the global scale. So he's the second one who received this milestone. I think President Ramaphosa deserves a round of applause. In October, we celebrated Istalandwe, who after 30 years of being in prison was still going strong. Ngate Dr. Cholo of Soshanguve.
Thank you. Do you have any form of policing?
To be compared with this honor is not an easy feat.
The moment I started to give
Talandwe Siaparongo is awarded by the ANC to those who have made outstanding contributions and sacrifice to the liberation struggle, and is traditionally bestowed only on the bravest warriors of the people for the exceptional qualities of leadership and heroism. And heroism, not only undermining the women. I'm saying this because I'm speaking about Ntate Cholo, who is a man. The first recipient of this honor were Chief Albert Lutuli, Dr. Yusuf Dadu, and Father Trevor Huddleston at the Congress of the People in June 1955 when the Freedom Charter was adopted. In 1990, Ntate Cholo became the first ANC chairperson of Soshanguve branch immediately after his release from Robben Island, where he served 26 years. Ntate Cholo became our the chairperson of the branch, where most of us formally joined ANC after its unbanning. For 30 years, from 1960, the ANC was declared unlawful by the apartheid government, and all its political activities were prohibited and its members imprisoned. Looking back at this historic moment, I'm quite certain that most of you, my fellow comrades here, feel the same as I do, that we are immensely proud of the contribution made by Ntate Cholo, and he's nurtured and sprinkled under his political tutelage and wisdom. He said, in his own words, "I feel nostalgic as I remember that every single weekend we would travel from our campus at Technikon, Northern Transvaal, to do the political work." Ntate Cholo is saying every single week, consistently. I wish we can emulate him. South Africa have hosted successful G20, and there's a song that resonates with the G20, which I like. It says, "With or without you, we did it. With or without you, we made it." This was historic. It was the first time the G20 was hosted on African soil. Dr. Nick Ebegel says, when speaking about the countenance, the faces of the people of South Africa, "Your people are extraordinary." A German delegate commented and said, "I've attended summits on 6 continents. I've never experienced the warmth like this." A Japanese delegate said, "Your security guards smile while being vigilant. Your drivers share stories while navigating. Everyone from the protocol officers to the coffee vendors treat us like family, not foreign dignitaries." Our country is full of humanity. When you land at any airport in South Africa, you are greeted by a smile, and it's contagious. Ubuntu is us. Us is Ubuntu. The G20 working group focuses on 6 high-impact priorities: addressing inequality and reducing vulnerabilities. By fostering international cooperation and sharing best practices, it aims to support sustainable development initiatives that reduce poverty and empower marginalized groups, including indigenous people, women, and youth. This also emphasizes gender responses and the disability-inclusive policies, advocating for equitable investment in resilience. This got President Ramaphosa all in it. And I want us to appreciate him furthermore for declaring GBV as a national crisis. Global coverage and early warning systems. Cellular broadcasting emerges as a scalable solution, delivering real-time alerts directly to mobile services without needing internet access, making it especially effective in rural and remote areas. Despite these advancements, challenges persist, including achieving interoperability across various mobile networks and devices, addressing regulatory and funding constraints, and ensuring full geographic coverage. Comrade Kumbuzo spoke about when she was deployed in one department and when she came into communications. As we speak, there are 2 or 3 bullies which are providing network in our country. We want Comrade Kumbuzo and the team to expand it. We must be like all other African countries wherein they've got 10 or more service providers and the price is managed so that our people can be able to afford. Disaster and climate resilience infrastructure. Extreme heat present because challenges of housing which can become unsafe and unhealthy, especially in densely populated and undeserved areas. To address these impacts, it is essential to explore technologies that enhance the thermal performance of housing, such as materials that reflect heat or promote passive cooling. Financing frameworks, mobilizing resources across public and private sectors to support resilience and minimize disaster impacts, especially in vulnerable regions. Key mechanisms include domestic financing, private sector investment, and multinational support from development banks, which play a crucial role in providing both financial resources and technical expertise. Comrade Kumbuzo, I invested time in analyzing the global finance houses, and I read what they are doing to us, the developing countries. Comrades, all developing countries, including ourselves, are paying 975 billion rands of interest per year. We must get rid of that an ugly, continuous apartheid system depression on our developing countries. If you are paying 975 billion rands a year, it means you will never be out of the debt. That is a lifetime entrapment into a debt. In terms of this disaster recovery and rehabilitation and construction, by integrating measures into the phases, the aim is to build back better, ensuring that communities are more prepared for future events. This approach emphasizes local planning, community engagement to tailor response, effectively drawing on lessons learned and evidence-based solutions. The nature-based solutions and ecosystem-based approach for disaster risk reduction. By restoring ecosystems like wetlands, forests, and mangroves, countries have enhanced environmental resilience, reducing the impact of disasters such as flood, droughts, and landslides. I think it's important that the National Executive Committee members at some point must come and tell you why USA didn't come. Perhaps you must delve deep so that everybody can have an appreciation. There's deeper politics that we need to share at some point. I think I'm not privileged to do that, but they'll come at an appropriate time. In terms of the international balance of forces, since the last conference, the world has defeated COVID-19 disease. The insidious harm caused by COVID or coronavirus cannot be forgotten so easily when the effects of its damage are still felt to this day. Combating corruption is essential, and the ANC in various parts of the country, particularly here in Tshwane, must take steps to combat corruption, especially the subtle kind. This kind has always been practiced by anybody else except the African National Congress. We need to be deliberate and unapologetic. Altering the weather patterns, which unfortunately are the contributors, are those who want us to pay, while we contribute only for 4%. These are allegations that weather patterns can now be altered to cause damage in particular selected parts of the world. This phenomenon is conducted as a test to show how future battles between countries will be waged. We are truly living in interesting times, and the more we learn about this new phenomenon, the better. Comrades, this is something that perhaps those who who want to know about the future of us must engage or invest efforts. There's countries that can generate rain as we speak. The Russia war with Ukraine seems to have subsided in the look of things, but it's subsided only on the media space because they are burying the advances of Russia in that space. According to the World Food Program, Ukraine produces 1/5 of the world's high-grade wheat and 7% of all wheat. The war in Ukraine has led to underproduction of wheat, pushing the prices and forcing us to buy bread and cooking oil at high prices. The petrodollars are not currencies, but dollars used to purchase crude oil. As we are advancing as the BRICS countries, this concept, which was generated in 1970, is now nearing its death. And that is one of the reasons why South Africa is hated with passion by the USA. Africa, in context, the new African Continental Free Trade Agreement is not exploited, is not used optimally. It has come into effect and is a game changer for the continent. South Africa, as the past chair of AU, played a critical role in formalizing this committee agreement. However, these are pressing issues affecting the peace and stability in Africa that require our attention. Income inequality. Our country's Gini index is highly unacceptable. We need to push harder to grow the economy, encourage technological innovation, entrepreneurship, and advance the ideals of a development-capable state. If you look at the complexion of the stock exchange, you realize that we are still far. The importance of city of Tshwane. Comrades, we are the capital city of the Republic. We cannot allow any party to rule and run this country. Imagine the embassy of Tanzania, imagine the embassy of Zambia, imagine the embassy of Mozambique being cut off electricity and water and going to beg from another party. That is unacceptable, and that must motivate us to work together, comrades. The renewal and the unity of the ANC is not mechanical unity of its leaders, but a unity of purpose to advance the national democratic revolution. We need to renew our movement and build strong, united, and capable ANC that can lead the country towards a brighter future. Our people are still struggling, comrades. Here in Tshwane, we've got an interesting metro. We've got deep rural in Tshwane. We've got the creme de la creme of suburban areas and everything in the middle. We need to do everything to ensure that we ameliorate the socio-economic conditions of our people. We have a responsibility to push back the frontiers of abject poverty and squalor. I'm coming to a critical component which is killing the organization silently. The organization is being targeted by local and international enemies as fake news thrives in the arena of political contestation. And in the ANC, as in all social movements, it causes confusion, mistrust, and internal divisions. Fake news is weakening the fabric of our movement. Its corrosive effects depends the cracks and disunity and factionalism. It is a reality we must be alive to and confront it with urgency. South Africa has a high concentration of smartphones, and due to our social nature, we populate and mutate unverified information through thriving social media communities on platforms such as WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and X. These high-speed message vehicles have become the main carriers of misinformation, and access to the internet have been weaponized to fragment and divide the communities. Yet, every ANC member should continuously be alive to these threat posed by ever-increased messages, manipulators, and planting of fake news. Comrades, I have requested you to refrain and desist yourself from retweeting information that is not verified. Fake news and disinformation have become an endemic part of politics throughout the world. The ANC must develop an education and information platform to alert our members about the threat it poses to our unity and cohesion. The numbers we are subjected to of fake news is scary, and our comrade doesn't process, they just resent. Daily we see comrades being hooked into sophisticated and sometimes clever and hidden fakes. It's relentless and everyday new fake news, disinformation are flooding our information ecosystem. We experienced in the first hand when Donald Trump, in the full glare of the world, flashed out fake information and images about a so-called white genocide in South Africa. If it can be done by the president of the most powerful country, how much more members of the ANC are going to mutate? On a lighter note, we realized that those who went to tell him the lies were car guards here in South Africa, not farmers. On the future we seek to build in Tshwane, the city remains a beacon of hope for many people. We have a responsibility as activists to create Tshwane that is only livable for residents, but a world-class African city. And we've got that capability. The SACP decision to contest elections, the implications and analysis thereof. We respect the South African Communist Party, and we are looking forward to the NEC finding an amicable solution. We will not tire to negotiate and engage our strategic alliance partners. This move has far-reaching implications for the country's political landscape, particularly in the context of African National Congress dominance and the tripartite alliance with the Congress of South African Trade Unions. We might have differed, but those differences doesn't warrant divorce. SSP decision appears to be driven by the desire to strengthen the working class in government, which is fair, aiming to advance a program of democratic power rooted in the interest of workers and poor. However, we must not contradict the objectives of the National Democratic Revolution, which aims to build a non-sexist, non-racial, and democratic society. Challenges to the dominance of the ANC. The SSCP clarification that contesting election doesn't mean they are leaving the alliance with ANC raises sharp questions and makes us to be confused and frustrated. The SSCP decision is likely to strain the alliance with the ANC, particularly ANC views on the SSP move to as a challenge to its authority. In the 40 years celebration of COSATU demonstrated its support for the African National Congress. We would appreciate if SACP can do the same. There are policy implications like the land reform, which doesn't sit well with the SACP, economic policy, indigenous languages, and we understand and appreciate the concerns of the SACP. As we are limping, and now we are confronted with new challenges like the MK party, I think it's not an ideal time for us to divorce each other. And I don't think there'll be an ideal time for us to divorce each other. The SACP complained about lack of implementation of policies, working class representation, neoliberal agenda. Now we have opened the conference. I think it will be important that this conference becomes a festival of ideas wherein SACP members and ourselves can engage thoroughly. And when we come up of this conference, we are on the same wavelength. In the Middle East, the USA is doing as it pleases. We all know about the 7th October 2023 attack. Comrades, as we speak, more than 45,000 people have lost their lives in Gaza due to the evil practices of Israel. Israel have killed Hamas leaders and is posing a threat on the lives of Palestinians. The escalation of Israel and Iran, which started in Damascus, which was helped by the interception of USA and the Western, have killed our brothers, our soldiers, our friends in Iran. Today in Iran, the lives have changed. Our people are living in terror and fear as a result of the bully USA led by Donald Trump. A clandestine Israel operation using explosive pages killed dozens of Hezbollah operatives in September 2024. Our country, through its bravery, and let's appreciate the National Executive Committee for going to court and fighting the Goliath. A fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah took effect in November 2027. The aim of this ceasefire is to bring stability in the region, but tensions remain high, and both sides have accused each other. When the leadership of one country uses soldiers to bar and block humanitarian help, then you must understand that this is not a war, this is an evil practice. On African continent, comrades, the Sudanese civil war, which began in 2023 April, is a brutal conflict between the Sudanese armed forces and led by General Fattah Burhan and Rapid Support Forces led by Mohammed Hamdan. The two leaders initially seized power together in 2021 during a coup, but later clashed. The key points of this conflict: the RSF has its roots in Janjaweed militants known for their role in Darfur genocide. They've been accused of war crimes, including killing women, ethnic killings, and forced displacement. Control and violence. RSF have seized control of Sudan, capital Khartoum, and much of Darfur. And these have misplaced more than 100,000 people, and the estimation of deaths is hovering around 60,000. There's a humanitarian crisis in Darfur. The international world, United States, have imposed sanctions on RSF leader Hemedi and several RSF-owned companies, accusing them of genocide. How hypocritical it is. The UAE has also been accused of supporting RSF despite denying this. Allow me to come to African politics deeper, comrades. And I'll start with Rwanda. And I'm going again to appreciate the president of the country and the president of the African National Congress, and I'll tell you why. There's evidence, empirical evidence, that Rwandan Defense Force troops are fighting alongside the M23 and controlling M23 operations. M23 uses equipment exceeding its capacities or capabilities, including drones, GPS-guided mortars, and signal jammers, which are supplied by Rwandan military tech. International condemnation comes from US, UK, France, but nothing has been done. Comrades, South Africa have deployed our soldiers for peacekeeping mission. Unfortunately, 14 of our soldiers lost their lives in that exercise. And allow me to cite the names of our sergeants and our heroes and heroines who were part of that mission. Staff Sergeant Suwatlani, Theophilus Siepe, Corporal Nivulani, Rifafen Mukiti, Joseph Mabi, Corporal Matume, Justice Malesa, Bombardier Itumeleng, McDonald Morero, Lance Corporal Tseke, Moffat Molapo, Lance Corporal Metsi, Stan Lee, Raswiswi, Private Peter Jacobs Stradom, Staff Sergeant Molatleli, Ismail Molatleli, Staff Sergeant William Eddy, Kola, Rifleman Sidiso, Andris Mabele, and Rifleman Calvin Louis Muahi. May their souls rest in peace. As Comrade Kumbuzo has said, from time to time, we are having an appetite to speak ill about our leaders. Some said President Ramaphosa deployed these soldiers for his interest. The deployment of the soldiers of South Africa for this mission came before President Ramaphosa was a president. And he's got nothing to do with the interest of the minerals of DRC. Comrades, I think it's important that I underscore this. The deployment of this mission came way before President Ramaphosa became the president. Stop lying, stop peddling lies, stop wage driving. President Ramaphosa is our president and we must respect him. Comrades, we have seen a horrible situation in Tanzania. Tanzania is one of the countries that hosted our leaders during difficult times. We've seen the protest that turned ugly after the elections. More than 1,500 people were killed during those protests. I think it's important that we learn from that. We must be able to predict what will happen and prepare ourselves for that eventuality. We must never wait for a moment where people lose their lives for protesting. The government that we are having here, we got it through toy and protest. Mozambique, our neighbor, as well. 110 people were killed when they were protesting against the results. Are we learning from these horrible situations as South Africa? What do we make of these unprecedented levels of killings due to elections? African nations are seeking to maximize benefits from green mineral wealth and renewable energy resources. The African Development Bank have approved grants to strengthen disaster risk management. I want to share with you the key objectives of Africa continental free trade areas. We want to have a single market, create a single continental market for goods and services, economic integration, boost infra-Africa trade, to eliminate tariffs and non-tariff barriers to the trade. Cooperation within ourselves in the region, manage and settle disputes amicably, institutional framework, discussions and engagements, and lastly, the digital trade. This will help us to have expanded market access. Our economies will grow. There will be regional value chains. And this will give us global competitiveness. Comrades, let's celebrate a milestone. The Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, called PAPS, has been established to allow payments between companies in local currencies and simplify intra-African transactions. Are you able to interpret what I'm saying? Are you having capacity to interpret what I'm saying? Perhaps let me pause and tell you what this is saying. The Pan-African Payment and Settlement System have been established to allow payments between companies in local currencies, simplify intra-African trade transactions. What does it mean? It means when I make a deal with Mozambicans, I don't need a dollar or any foreign currency. There are no interests. When I deal with Zimbabwe, buying tobacco because they are producing quality tobacco, there won't be any dollar needed. So this must be exploited by ourselves, comrades, as delegates here. These are the things that we must take home and share with our business people. South Africa is the most strategic area in the African continent, military and economically. So let's exploit that. And as I close, comrades, we as the African National Congress we are a beacon of African hope. All African countries are looking up to us for help. Let's make sure that we don't disappoint them. But illegal foreigners doesn't have a room in our country. I thank you.
Amandla. Comrade, let me thank our regional chairperson, Comrade Eugene Bonzo Modise, for presenting a balanced report for our delegates here. Comrades, now is the time to service our stomach. Yeah, I can see the level of energy is deteriorating. Let's go and get energy. It's going to be a lunchtime, comrades, and we are going to break for an hour. So you are going to be back here at 18 hours. At 6 o'clock. Rakwana, my comrade. Lunch will be served there. You see where I'm pointing there. When you leave here, you just go straight where I'm pointing. You'll find lunch there. Members, our comrades in this table, in front there, they will have to go straight there. And it will be a working lunch for the credential committees, as they will be receiving a credential report. So they don't have time to relax. Comrades, I discipline. Yeah, comrades, I've never adjourned. This meeting is still in process. I can see comrades hurry up to go and service their stomach. But comrades will come back at 6 o'clock. Go well until we meet.